Let's get it. If you're building a channel, if you have a business you're trying to build, if you are an artist, how do you get attention of people? How do you bring your art to people? That's what we're talking about. I have a social media marketing agency. I'm building one right now, and I spend 99% of my time researching, learning. Sometimes I'm sleeping, but that's rarely. Researching social media marketing. So ask away any questions. Ask away any questions. I'm going to be snacking in the meantime, as I did not eat anything today yet. And we'll get to chat a bit about this. So ask away any questions. If there's any inquisitive folks here, any questions? Building a channel, building a business, if you are an artist of any sort, of any kind. Hello, hello Demi, hello Mitsu. Hope everyone is well. I hope everyone is well. Yeah, the setup's a bit different today once again. And soon, especially here, it's gonna get a lot better, because then after, I think, this stream, I'll be able to stream on TikTok and YouTube at the same time from one piece. So right now I have my phone here and I have TikTok here, and it's kind of annoying, and I'd rather have it all on one platform. And so that's going to happen next time. So right now you're hearing me through the camera, and I hope that is fine. To the people on TikTok, the people on YouTube hear me through my mic. Which last time was also a bit loud. Let me turn that back down. There we go. So we are back. We are talking once again about social media marketing. I'm excited. I'm excited to see if we get some creators in here today, if we get some business folks in here today, if we get some people thinking about building a business in here today. Anything along those lines. Hey, I'm loving the love. Thank you, Najib. Thank you, Najib. Y'all, can you tell me if my mic sounds fine? I gotta know. Otherwise I'd have to like stop the stream and do a bunch of stuff and change it up again. But yeah. We're back, and we're back on social media marketing. I'm so excited. Today, what's good, everyone? What's good? You know what I saw today? It's actually not social media marketing, this is marketing in general, but I thought it was super interesting. Hello, how's everyone doing? Oh, I'm glad. Hi, guys. Dude, my day has been great. My day has been phenomenal. I was outside, I woke up absolutely deleted, but then I was like, you know what? I'm gonna get it started. I'm just gonna get it started. I got out, and then I told myself, because you know what I'm doing, you know what I'm gonna do now for my business? I'm gonna integrate live social shopping. If you know what that is, your day's been horrible. That sucks. I hope that turns around. The space here is a space of positivity that I open to thyself. And right, I was out, and then I got like a clothing stand to start the live social shopping stuff. Bill, like you got a bill. You know what? We can work on that. If you got good marketing, your business is gonna run, which means you'll be able to pay your bills. That's the whole point of marketing. It's to get attention to you and whatever you're doing. So once again, I'm gonna reiterate, if there's any artist here, if there's any entrepreneur here, if there's anyone building a business, if there's anyone building anything actually, and you're looking to gain attention and recognition for what you're doing, then you will need marketing. And here we talk about marketing. We talk about, today at least, we're going to be talking pretty intensely about marketing. So if you have any questions, you know what I saw today? I thought it was super interesting. Again, ready for the questions? Give me 1 second, Mitsu. Give me 1 second, because today I saw something really interesting, and I want to talk about that real quick. I saw a sign on the bus. I was on the second story of the bus, And I see a sign that says it was for a park, like one of those amusement parks. And you saw a dinosaur on it. And then it said realistic dinosaurs. Realistic dinosaurs, and it said a life, like basically lifelike dinosaurs, like lifelike realistic dinosaurs. And I thought it was so funny because no adult person looks at that and is like, oh, that's so sick. I'm gonna go check it out. And now this is where it gets so interesting because it's not geared towards adult people. That was my realization. I was looking at it, I was like, what the fuck? Who's putting an ad there? First of all, who's putting an ad? Like, I mean, who's still using posters? But that's beside the point. But this time it actually made sense because they're not targeting adult people, they're targeting children. And now hear me out, right? Because a child, like a small child especially, they'll look at that and they'll say, holy shit, lifelike dinosaurs? Dad, mom, I want to go there, right? Mom's like, bro, you know, what are we trying to do here? You know what I mean? There's no dinosaurs. Or maybe they're even thinking, hey, you know, he wants to go, she wants to go, they want to go, let's just go and check it out, right? Maybe it's cool, it's going to be all right. They're doing it for their kids. But the kid saw that, and that's also what I love about this, is that they put it on the height of the second bus, right? Of the second story of the bus. And so it is targeted exactly for those children that are sitting at the front, that are sitting at the top, and they're seeing that. And then they placed it also basically at the front of the bus stop. So kids that sit at the front, they're more likely to see it, right? And so it fools kids, it doesn't fool any parents, and it's not geared towards parents. And that's what I thought was super interesting. I absolutely love that example today. Do I sell used socks? For you, maybe. You're making 10 grand per month. Hey, big up to you. Keep it going. Keep it going. I'm excited for you. What do you do? What do you do? How are you planning on scaling it? Are you planning on scaling it? Recently, I saw on a podcast, in a marketing, actually it wasn't a podcast, it was a marketing video. There was a guy, and I loved it. I made a post about it. He just said, you know, our marketing works. Our marketing just works, and I'm happy about it. And you know, he was like, we don't have a demand problem, we don't have a supply problem. We're just happy with what we have. You know what I mean? And I was like, bro, he's living the life. I'm just happy. You know what I mean? I got it all set out. And you know how that happens? That happens through good marketing. So let's make that happen for you. Let's make that happen for you. Let's make that happen for me. And let's talk about marketing. Does anyone have any questions? Right. I'm done with my story, Mitsu. Feel free to fire away. Feel free to fire away. We're out here. We're answering questions about social media marketing. We're here to teach you how to grab the attention of the public. You know what I find so funny still? I'm looking at all my stuff, right? My channels and everything. Yeah, I mean, you had a question. If virality is unpredictable, how do you plan content without relying on luck? That's a great question. How do you plan content without relying on luck? Let me take a bite real quick. Let YouTube get some ASMR. And that really sucks, Sigma. Sigma has depression. Maybe this space can allay a bit of the dread as we keep this space tendentially positive. I don't think that was English. We tend to keep it positive. Not to say, you know, yeah, this is just a great place, hang out here if you're not doing too well. Right. If virality is unpredictable, how do you plan content without relying on luck? So there are predictable ways to gain viewership, right? And relying on luck without relying on luck. Okay, so if you were relying on luck, right, then you would just be doing a bunch of random stuff and hoping that it works. The whole point of how, so hello Destined. Someone asked the question just now, if virality is unpredictable, how do you plan content without relying on luck? And right, someone who would be relying on luck would just be basically throwing out content and kind of hoping it works. And the whole point of social media marketing in this case is to find systems or to find formats to reduce the reliance on luck and increase the reliance on recognized, sustainable, or verified formats, predictable outcomes, creating more predictable outcomes. And the way you do that is by looking what works, right? You would research a bunch of channels. So I'll tell you what I did for mine, for example. I knew I wanted to work with flooring companies, mainly contractors, flooring companies. And so what I did was I researched a bunch of flooring company videos. I created a channel, I created a profile, and that profile reflected the habits of a viewer interested in contract work. Okay, so I followed a bunch of woodworkers, I followed a bunch of electricians, I followed a bunch of flooring companies, or this is what you would do, right? And then I checked out, and then I looked at a bunch of their videos. That was number one. That way I get a general impression of what works and what doesn't. Number two, I will find a certain channel and I look for a channel that's doing really well. And then I'll start analyzing their videos. So if you look back on my YouTube live streams, you'll see me just analyzing videos like for hours. And so I'll analyze, I have like a whole segment on, for example, the hook, on the format, on the engagement rate, how many likes it has, how many comments it has. Then I dissect pretty intensely. Oh, I also look at if there's extra engagement on there, like lead signals, like maybe someone's commenting and they want to buy. And so I'll dissect the video into its constituent parts and try to understand what about the video works and what doesn't. And the whole point in there is that you don't have to rely on luck, right? Is that there are predictable ways to gain attention. And the reason they work is, because of how humans work and how psychology works. So when you post a video, learning, for example, storytelling will become extremely important on social media because you need to be able to connect with people, and you connect with people over stories. And so that's how you kind of start relying less on luck and more on structure, is by finding the structures. Or I guess that's the answer, right? You can rely on structure, and you find structure by exploring the underlying tendencies by which humans function and how that applies to your certain content type. And that's how you rely less on luck. Or that's how you stop relying on luck. And you get more predictable outcomes. And then it's just data, right? At that point, it's just gathering and using data. Finding the data, using the data, extrapolating, interpreting the data. And in the end, the larger your data bank gets, the less you start relying on luck. And exactly, the better, the more experience you have, the more knowledge you have, the less you start relying on luck. Are there any questions to that? Did that make sense? Does that make sense? I tried to give you something that you could use. You know what I mean? Like using that, having a channel that, for example, having one dedicated channel that reflects the behavior patterns of your customer. That's super useful, because then you just get direct insights into what works and what doesn't and why it works. And you kind of have that, you mirror the behaviors of a potential customer. So that's one thing that I really use. And then it's really just a bunch of interpretation and gathering and learning, data and looking at your competitors. Look at your competitors. Another really important thing. That's what I talked about when I said I look at viral channels. There's underlying structures there that they use. Understand those and your content will go off. And that's been my experience too, right? I mean, this is like direct experience of mine. Hello, Arsenal. I hope everyone's well. I hope everyone's well. How are you guys doing? It's, when I look at a video of the ones that pop off for my client, right? And some of them, they have, right, I told you yesterday, 500,000 views, or another one now is it's like climbing up to 100,000 views. I posted it yesterday. And it's these things that when I know that, or I have a good chance that they're going to go off because of the research I've done. And I understand how, at least for that content specifically, it works. I'm a social media marketer, so I have a social media marketing agency, and I work mainly with contractors, but I'm expanding that right now. I'm doing well, dude. I'm doing really well. My day's been great. I had a really great and productive day. I feel good, and we're moving and we're going. And now I want to share some of the things I learned today here, some of the knowledge I gained on social media marketing. So if you're thinking of growing a business, if you have a business, if you're an artist and you want to bring your art to people, if you're creating anything really and you want to bring that forward to humanity, you're going to need marketing. And so that's what I talk about. So you plan content around proven formats, strong hooks, and consistent testing. So growth becomes predictable rather than lucky. That is a very strong, succinct representation of what I do. Yeah. I use proven formats, the strong hooks, right, exactly, and consistent testing. And we can, deep dive into what all of those parts look like. So how do you find a proven format? What's a strong hook, and how do you build a strong hook, or how do you find strong hooks? And how do you test things consistently in this case, right? But that's a great way of bringing it together. Mitsu. Can I be self-taught? Can I be a self-taught marketer, or do jobs require certificates? You can totally be a self-taught marketer. 100%. I'll get on that, Mitsu. So I am a self-taught marketer, right? As in I'm doing this, I'm self-taught. You can start your own business, right? And I think in the end, what most people are looking for is always going to be proof. So if you're asking, I want to work as a marketer, can I be self-taught? 1 billion%. Because is that what you want to do? Do you want to be a marketer? Do you want to be a self-taught marketer? Are you trying to find how to enter the space as such? Then we can talk about that too. Because there's some more intuitive ways. I had a similar feeling, it was difficult for me. I was like, I want to work, but I don't know how to get in there. And now looking back, I found so many more intuitive ways to get into to even as a young person, Eunice, if you're younger, there are ways to enter the business world that are approachable even for younger people. They are effortful though. 70-20-10 strategy. Okay. We talked about that yesterday, Mitsu. That's the 70-20-10 strategy is something that I'm also now going to be integrating more in my own use, especially for this channel, right? These channels, because I'm for example, right? It's funny because I'm a marketer, right? But I'm not using verified formats enough. I'm not using I'm not using like verified hooks enough. I kind of use this channel more just for the vibes, but I definitely should be making, or I'm definitely going to be making more directed content, as like you saw one of my last pieces. The 70-20-10 strategy is, thank you, Mitsu, for sharing the live. I love that, man. Appreciate it a lot when y'all share this. The 70-20 20-10 strategy. So the way that works is that 70% of your content should be verified that it'll work, right? Should be verified that it'll pop off. 20% can be a little bit more experimental, a little bit outside of the box, which means you could take something from okay, let me explain it like this. Like 70%, you know is going to go off. You know it's going to go off because you basically took most of everything from a channel that's either a bit smaller that went off, or you took it from your competitors and it went off, right? And so you have like this verified format. 20% of that, or not 20% of that, but 20% of your content, you're going to tweak some things, right? You're going to add a little bit of your own spice. So you might go a little bit outside of the box. It's still going to be maybe a verified format, but now you're not going to use a script that's as similar, or you're going to, you're going to take the format and you're going to take the structure and you're going to add your own format on it. So it might be something like it's a storytelling video. You copy the storytelling that was used, but now instead of it being talking head, you do a dialogue, right? That's 20%, where you're taking something that's proven and you're changing some things. And 10% is you completely innovating on it, which means you freestyle something. You use your experience, you use your imagination, and you bring something new into the world. And those 10% are the spaces where innovation really happens, right? Where even big channels begin to explore new spheres. Right, and the 10 is important because what you'll see oftentimes, what I find kind of funny, I kind of love this, right, is that big channels, they'll stop creating new things, right? So big channels will, or new, I mean, in like, it's completely new. They'll stop innovating because what they will do they'll be looking at smaller channels and they'll be trying to find outlier videos, right? So what I do most of the time is I try to find videos from channels that went off 2, 3, 4, 5 times as much as all of their other videos, right? Because that shows that structure works. Whatever they did, it worked. And so big channels will use basically only verified formats. But what you really want to do, and the reason this is so important, right, is that if you really want to stick out, if you really want to gain attention, if you really want to become, if you really want to stick in people's minds, then you need something outstanding, right? You need something that gets you to stick out. And that happens in those 10%. Because those are the 10% in which you differentiate yourself, not just from your competitors, in those 20% in which you're changing something from your competitors, but in your structure as a whole. Which means, okay, this is a great example. Y'all know the career ladder. Right? The career ladder. I hope you don't have to hold your bladder because it's time for the career ladder, right? That thing. That's a 10% situation. You could call it a 20% because it's like man on the street, but like I'm pretty sure that's just like he created something. You didn't know about that before. Right? No one. There were people, although actually maybe it is more 20%. I'd say it's somewhere in between. Because what he did, he getting someone on a ladder, getting someone to talk with you about, like, people did interviews before, right? Of course I've done interviews before, but interviewing a bunch of people, a bunch of more famous people, or even just a bunch of random people, the community, to find interesting jobs and talk about those. Seen that before. And I mean, in the end, 10%, I would call it a 10% strategy for sure, because it's out there. You know what I mean? It's something new. It's completely new. And I think, 10%, any idea, anything new we create is always based on other ideas. And so I'd say it is really outside of the box in a way that he took like the kind of man on the street style, and it was like pretty genre bending in that way, where it's like he just did something completely different. It's not that typical man on the street where you're going out and you're like asking people questions. 20% would be, for example, you go out and you just start asking different kinds of questions, right? But he went out and he just changed it completely. So yeah, that's on the 70-20-10 strategy. It's just using that, gradual, especially, I mean, this is really applicable mostly for like big channels where the risk is also higher. So for your channel, for my channel, it's really not that important. For my client's channel, for example, I would avoid, for my client's channel, right, that's where I would use something like that, more so. I would rely on the 70-20-10 strategy. Like 70% of it would just be verified formats. 20% of it would be a little bit more, just like a tad, change in something. And then 10% would be me just trying to think outside of the box and creating my own, or our own systems. Yeah. What do you think of that, Mitsune? What does anyone here think of that? Does that make sense to everyone? Is that intuitive? Right, yeah, let me know, like, what does that mean to you? Does that make sense? Is that like applicable? Is that applicable? Can you use that? Especially, I'd really love to know, right, can you use that? And if you can't use these things that I've been talking about, then, I gotta know, and then I can adapt it. I might try to include some visualizations or something. Cheers, everyone. Hello. Hello. How's everyone doing, man? How's everyone doing? Very nicely explained. Thank you very much. Next question is from my friend. If I should ask it, and I should ask it if he didn't have time for the next stream. Okay, hit me with it. Hit me with it. I'm here to answer all sorts of marketing inquiries. That's an amazing question. If you had to grow a brand from zero, what would your first 3 moves be and why? Am I growing this brand for myself, or am I growing this brand for someone else? And it also depends pretty strongly in what sphere my brand is in. If you're saying, I want to grow a brand and like completely from zero, like as in I don't even know what it's about yet, then that's, it depends on what stage of the brand or business we're at. Do I, like, the zero mean I literally don't know what like my brand even stands for? You know what your brand is, and it's for yourself. Clothing. Okay. You want to make a clothing brand. And your question is, what should your first 3 steps be? Your first step would be to understand your ideal customer. That would be, this is your most fundamental step always. Whatever you're doing, it's your most fundamental step. Understanding your ideal, and it's called an ICP, ideal customer profile. The value in that is massive. If you have a clear ICP, you make your life like a billion trillion times easier, and you make your business probably even viable. So the way you'd go about that is, or actually, let me say, you want to find out, you want to get your ICP, right? You're building that brand. You want to get your ICP, and then you want to think about how, not just what their problems are, but more specifically, when you want to know. Okay. You have your brand. You know who your brand is for, very specifically. And then you know where you can find them, where they live, where they exist. And then from there, you want to find out disruptive ways to get to them. In between there somewhere. Like, this is what I mean with what your brand is because you're also trying to find out what uniquely can I offer my ICP, right? But you find that out afterwards. So it starts really with building your ICP. And that goes down into many, many parts, right? Which would be, for example, when I talked with my client and we were talking about an ICP, we found Gunny. We talked about Gunny. My customer, he's my main customer right now, my biggest customer. He has a flooring company, and right, he wants to move into wooden floors. And then we talked about one of his prior customers that he had before, and that guy, he was like super rich, old guy, and he just wanted stuff done. You know what I mean? He didn't want to think about it. He had a bunch of cash. He had everything just laying there, and he had like a diverse set of problems, right? He had a time problem. He didn't want to like sit around and deal with people the whole time. He had a trust problem. He wanted people that came into his house to be trustworthy people, or he didn't even want that many people in his house. He just wanted singular people in his house. He didn't want too much going on, right? He had like a connection problem. So he wanted people that were authentic, people that he could, connect with, which is also back to trust. And in a strange way, right? From what I gathered from him, he also kind of had a money problem. He had too much cash and he didn't know what to do with his money. And we can take that and say that's like the ideal customer for my client, right? And then from there on backwards, we start building the brand. So we say, what kind of brand would this ideal customer find interesting? What kind of brand speaks to this customer's problems? That's very important. When you're trying to find out your ICP, you're really trying to clock down the problems, right? What does this person go through? What does this person feel? The more precise you're able to get down on their problems, the better you're able to make ads. The better you're able to... Hey, CV. Thank you. Thank you very much. Right. The better you're able to target them. Because imagine, this is also why, for example, the first thing I did was talk with a bunch of flooring companies, because I wanted to find out how they think about their problems and how they feel their problems. And so what I want to be able to do with my ad is describe their pain to them better than they can to themselves. And this is important when you're building a brand, right? Because you want to be able to target their pain points as best as they can. Because you're talking about clothing, right? Now I kind of skipped topics. Hold up, let me finish the one thing and go to the next. Exactly, actually, no. I want to be able to explain their pain to them better than they can to themselves. So when you think about, was it North Face? No, Under Armour. When we talk about Under Armour, then they have a relatively specific person they're trying to target, and they make very specific targeted. They talk to them in a targeted way, and so they'll have multiple ICPs. And maybe I should mention that you don't only need one; you'll have multiple. And so they'll speak to an athlete differently than they'll speak to like a high performance athlete. They'll speak to them differently than they'll talk to a gym bro, right? But those are still their ICPs. And the clothing they would make for them also might look a bit different. They might make, exactly. And that's where talking to different ICPs is really the most essential step for building a brand. Then everything else comes after having your ICP set out. And so I'd say the first 3 moves would kind of all be around understanding your ICP and building from there. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. I hope that's applicable. That's how I would go about building a clothing brand. And then you really have to start thinking about distribution, as in like the moment. I'd say the first steps for me would just be start shoddy. I wouldn't even do anything. I wouldn't even try to do any. You wrote it down. I'm glad. I'm glad. Very glad. If I was like, it's for your friend. All right, awesome. If I was building, hello Adrian. I hope you're well. We're out here. We're talking about marketing. Someone asked the question. If I had to grow a brand, if I had to grow a brand from zero, what would my first 3 moves be and why? And we're talking specifically about clothing, and it's my own brand. And I said, we want to find our ideal customer we want to find our ideal customer first, and then build from there. And so for that, we have to understand their problems and exactly build from there. And so I'd say if I was building my brand and my clothing brand, dude, I would start so shoddy. Like I would make stuff, because you don't know yet what you especially, okay. I would make stuff, I'd create an ideal customer profile, and I'd test it, which means I'd talk with the people who I'm trying to target, and I'd ask them. I would be asking them so many questions. What do you think about this? What do you like about that? What do you not like about this? Or you could do other around, right? You could also talk with them first and then design your product. And I would also, if I made like, right, okay. I think, who's my ideal customer profile? I'd go talk with them, first thing. That's what I did. Thought of something, talked with them. Talk with them, find out what they like, don't like, what their problems are. Those are my first steps, right? Build out that ICP, make it as detailed as possible. Then, I'm making an MVP, a minimal viable product. So I'm creating just the first things I think are applicable. And I am bringing those to those people that I found, to my ICPs. I'm bringing them to them and I'm saying, what do you think about this? And then we're talking about it and we're finding out what works and what doesn't. And we're saying, this is good, this is bad, this is horrible. And then we change that and we iterate and we iterate. And then I keep iterating on that. I bring it out to my ICPs. They give me feedback. I keep iterating. And then somewhere along the lines, I would want to scale that. So I'd want to get more people that I can ask. And I might be at this point, I might already be posting. I might already be posting stuff about it. I would 100% be posting stuff about it. Yeah. I'd be posting stuff about it the whole time. This is what I changed about my product. And then, those are the first 3 steps. Think of an ICP, test your ICP assumptions, create an MVP, test your MVP against the ICP, right? Do that over and over again. And the third thing I'm doing the whole time is I'm making content about it, spamming content about it. Because people want to know. People want to know how you're improving it. People want to know, Adrian, hey, have a nice one. Thank you for sticking around. Right. People want to know how your brand is developing, how your pieces are growing, and it makes sense because you're seeing it evolve, right? And you're seeing it become better even for you, and you see how much love someone's putting into it. And that's kind of where I always think process over product. Yeah, that was pretty detailed. I think I might really start adding like a whiteboard or something into this. But I hope this makes sense. Hello, Llama. What's good? I hope you're well. How are you guys doing? How are you guys doing? Oh, it's been 40 minutes already. All right. Yeah, we talked about social media marketing. This was lit. Mitsu, it's all noted. What's a popular branding principle that works short term but damages long-term audience trust? I thought about that today. What's a popular branding principle that works short term but damages long-term audience trust? I was thinking about that today in the bus. Oh, I love that question. You're fine. How about me? I'm great. I'm super excited to be here. I'm super excited to be talking about marketing. I love what I do and I love talking about it. And I'm glad that we just kind of get to yap this stuff out. But dude, that's a great question. That is a super great question. And let's talk about that next time, because I actually still have a bunch of videos to edit and a bunch of stuff to get to. But I love the question. I absolutely love the question. The Llama, you're German, but you have a Mark 1 in English. That's what's up, my man. That is what's up. We always got Germans in the chat. Right, this was great. I love talking about this. I love getting deep. You're asking some great questions. You're asking some great marketing questions. I love it. And let's talk about that next time. I can also do some more research on that and then give you like a more, a less intuitive and more detailed answer. Guys, this was awesome. I super enjoy this, man. I love marketing so much. I actually love marketing so much. It's crazy. I don't even know. I'm so happy that that I do this. How long are you live? I've been live now for 42 minutes, but I'm going off pretty much now. I actually just wanted to eat this, but I tend to not eat when I'm on these lives. I tend to just talk about marketing because I'm too excited. And so, yeah. Let me know, Mitsu, how was this? Before I go off, Llama. I mean, I would appreciate. Actually, straight up, no, give me some feedback as well. You didn't get that much, but I'd love some feedback from everyone. As always, I'm striving to improve this. All right, I'm trying to make it better. So if you guys have any feedback, I take it to heart. It was great. Hint, make your lighting a different angle. I'll DM you an example. All right, sick. Yeah, do that. Let me know. Yeah, because my lighting is pretty harsh from the side here. And like with the camera and everything, it's like, it's all a strange angle. All right, guys. Sensei Bensei, what's good? Goodbye. Great. It was great. Make your lighting a different angle. Right, I'll use that. All right, guys, this was awesome. If you guys have any extended feedback, you can text me that either on Instagram or on my Substack. Got to plug my Substack before I go off. Check it out. I'm writing an article right now on, what am I writing an article on? About how social media can make us more authentic instead of less. It's been a great topic. I've been thinking about that a bunch, and I can't wait to talk about that. It was nice. I hope everyone has a great time. Good night.